or come in the store. We've got flyers and everything, but it's going to be excellent. So I'm looking forward to that event.
Website at AgelessMediaNetwork.com.
Yeah, it's happening. But it is Heart Month.
Yes.
February.
Tell us all about it.
So I want to go over some of the big issues on cardiovascular disease and things to look for on there. And, what people really, well, I got to go back to a couple of interesting things that came out in the media last week, although they never really do this big in the press. But, there was a major study with 143,000 women taking statin drugs, and found that their risk of getting diabetes type 2 increased between 48 and 71%, depending on what type race you are.
I believe that.
On taking statins over long periods of time. So, some of the risk, people need to really keep their eye on that. And
do you remember when I was on statins for about a week?
Yeah, I had terrible problems.
Brain fog.
That's what the problem was.
Right. And Peter noticed it and said something to me. It was wonderful that he did, because I felt it. Yeah. And I got off of it. It took me about 10 days, though, to get my brain unplugged.
Back on. Yeah, that's one of the big things. Well, we can go on that, but we're not going to do that today because we've got too much else to talk about things you can do.
Okay, good.
So on the whole thing. But, two of the things that I really like to do is I like people to ask their doctors on certain, when they're going in for their physicals, to really ask, and if they're getting blood work, there's a couple of simple blood work tests that you can do to really look at some of the underlying issues in heart disease. And the two big players that are going on in the body is inflammation and oxidation. These are the things that create the problems in the cardiovascular, in the artery walls, in which cholesterol then is used to repair damage. So the big key thing is cholesterol is really not the enemy we think it is. It's really the damage that we're creating on the cardiovascular system, in which cholesterol is merely a repair package to try to straighten out damage that's taken place on the cardiovascular wall, on that.
And that's where the buildup comes?
So that's where buildup comes. So the big thing to test for, there are really 3 tests, but the one that really shows how much inflammation is going on in my body is a simple test called the HSCRP, which means highly sensitive C-reactive protein. And I also do this test with people that are working with cancer, because cancer is driven by inflammation also. But it will actually give you, how inflamed is my body? And if your body is inflamed, you're going, whoa, I've got some serious issues here I need to take care of, and I need to get really proactive on getting my body back into an anti-inflammatory state and reduce inflammation. Because it's going to be a key thing to look at, and rarely do physicians, they don't automatically do this unless you ask. But, it's not an expensive test. It's maybe a $40 test.
And what is the danger of the body being inflamed?
Well, danger of body being inflamed is everything can be out of control. You've got situations of joint inflammation. You've got situations of Alzheimer's risk. You have situations of allergy risk. All kinds of other cancer risk is elevated. But cardiovascular risk is a big one. And for longevity, and we're talking about, our show is all about living really healthy and vibrantly post-55. If we get inflammation under control, all chronic degenerative diseases are far better and far more manageable, and you feel way better. If your inflammation is really under control, you're not going to have achy joints, this or that, allergic reactions so much, and your risk of all the other degenerative diseases are lower. So
how do we get it under control?
What you do is through diet and things I'll be talking about in a couple of minutes on there. Second test is baseline. I go over this a lot, but everybody needs to get a vitamin D test done. Everyone should do that, because vitamin D is a regulatory hormone that tells all cells how to behave correctly. I call vitamin D the principal that comes into the middle school and gets the rowdy kids back under control.
That guy.
That either guy or woman that tells cells, it's a cell signaler, and it has to do with inflammation, and it has to do with hundreds and hundreds of things, and the more studies that keep coming out on it, the more they find that it regulates. But cardiovascular disease is an area on heart muscle strength, and muscle strength itself, and lowering general inflammation. D plays a very big regulatory role, so it's a very simple test that can be done on that overall. So, in diet, we hit that first, is the big deal is what is the best anti-inflammatory diet? And that is really, everyone should either get on the internet or look at the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is really one of the best diets for the Western person. People have the Okinawan diet, but you're not going to be eating seaweed and other things all the time. But a Mediterranean diet is things we are familiar with, which is olive oil, which is lots and lots of berries, which is lots of nuts in the diet, which is lots and lots of vegetables in the diet, and fish as the primary thing. So in doing that, you're going to move your body to a more anti-inflammatory state. And I can never say enough about fish oils and fish oil supplementation as a baseline in cardiovascular disease protection, because fish oils are one of the most potent anti-inflammatory things we can put in our body. It regulates so much, it's amazing. And one of the things about fish oil is that one of the components in fish oil, called DHA, it goes in and signals to saturated fats and gets saturated fats to behave correctly. And saturated fats aren't always the enemy. It used to be considered the big enemy. And last year, a big study came out saying, oh my gosh, saturated fats aren't the big cause of heart disease. They're not the big problem we thought it was. And of course, there's a lot coming out on saturated fats that are really beneficial for you, like coconut oil. 2 weeks ago, there was a whole thing on Alzheimer's disease. It came on CNN. A woman whose husband with Alzheimer's disease gave him coconut oil, and it had a huge effect on his cognitive functioning. And they've actually said in Alzheimer's disease that it's called diabetes type 3 because it has to do with a lot of blood sugar dysregulation, and coconut oil has a regulating effect on keeping your blood sugar levels stable. But DHA from fish oil does that, and it's huge on reducing inflammation. So you can bring down your CRP with fish oil. One reason why I think statin drugs actually work on that big risk on cardiovascular is actually they lower CRP. I don't think it's the other mechanisms of lowering cholesterol that's the big issue. It's lowering inflammation.
CRP is?
CRP meaning C-reactive protein, which is a marker in the bloodstream on inflammation.
Okay.
Basic marker. So it's important to know those things because you get a concrete picture of where I'm at and how I can correct it, and go back and actually get blood work done later and go, wow, I'm really seeing results. And you will know it subjectively too, because you're just going to have less aches and pains, you're just going to feel better. Your inflammation's down, everything's working better. All right. Best nutrients for the heart. Number 1, CoQ10. CoQ10. Absolutely very, very important, because what CoQ10 does in the body is this. It enhances the production of energy by the spark plugs of your cells, which is mitochondria. And the more energy a cell has, the better everything can work on it. Just like a car being tuned up properly and having all the spark plugs working right and the engine firing correctly. Your heart produces a huge amount of energy. Obviously, it's got to beat multi-thousand beats a day. And it is constantly working. It needs energy to do that job. CoQ10, by giving the heart energy, the heart runs more efficiently and works much better. So very, very important. I recommend generally for people for good health using 100 milligrams a day. There are newer forms of CoQ10, one called ubiquinol, but there's various aspects of research. It's a lot more expensive. Most people will do fine on regular. But you always want to take it as a supplement with fat, with a meal that has fat. It's very difficult to absorb as a nutrient and needs some support by having some fat with it. So that's the big one to run the energy. So your heart has energy, and especially congestive heart failure, a big issue that happens as people get older, their heart runs out of energy. They start having, it starts enlarging, they start developing swelling in the ankles. CoQ10 plays a huge role in keeping that ticker running strong.
Peter, along those lines, as I have seen, looks like the prices of CoQ10 have started going up.
Yeah, they should have been going down. Except ubiquinol.
Looks like it.
Ubiquinol, but CoQ10 prices, there was
like $40 a bottle.
That's probably a ubiquinol, which is really expensive. And we still have CoQ10s that are running, 100 milligram, you can get like a 2-month supply for or a month supply. If you buy a 2-month bottle, you can get it for about $9 a month.
I'm coming to see you.
So, you know,
that's all
you can do that on that. You got CoQ10 that's still affordable.
Recently is $13 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I have these bonus packs that we carry that run like $16 or something. That's 100 milligram and it has bioperin. It's got rice bran oil to help the absorption with it. They're really good. It's one of the ones I take. So, you know, it can be affordable.
Okay.
Number 2 mineral is magnesium, the most underrated mineral overall. Magnesium is the anti-spasm mineral, anti-cramping. It runs 200 enzyme systems in the body, makes everything work better in the body. But it relaxes the arteries. It prevents them from spasming. So you've got things that will lower the risk of heart attack. Fish oils are huge on that, and magnesium plays a secondary big role on preventing heart spasm. So it's relaxing arteries. It's helping to reduce high blood pressure. It's really, really important on supporting that. And it's our great anti-stress mineral. It chills us out. It helps us tolerate stress better. That is very important. We sleep better with it. Really, really important minerals. So you want to look at magnesium. The form citrate is one that absorbs really well, although if you take a lot of it, it's a laxative. It draws water into your colon. So if you need a laxative, it's great. If you don't, there's a form called glycinate, which is very absorbable by the body, and you can take it in higher doses and not have any GI tract issues on there. Next is an amino acid called L-carnitine. And carnitine is interesting that it gives the muscles more strength, and what it does is it shuttles fat to the heart to be burned. And so the heart, because it has so energy intensive, needs lots of fat actually to keep it working well. And what carnitine does is it like shuttles fat to the heart to get it to be burned more efficiently. Really? So it's like increasing the efficiency of the heart, but at the same time it strengthens the muscle of the heart. And it's also great for athletic performance, and it strengthens all your muscles. So if you're working out, you're exercising, biking, playing tennis, doing weight training, carnitine's really good on that, and a lot of guys like it because it seems to target belly fat and helping to burn fat off you.
We got a 55
so it's an efficient thing to do on there.
L-carnitine?
L-carnitine.
Is that L like the letter L?
L, yep, with a dash, carnitine. It's normally been found in lamb. It's actually the word carnitine came from meat because they extracted it originally out of meat sources, and lamb is the best food source of L-carnitine that you can do. Now, there are botanicals, herbs, which strengthen the heart muscle, and the greatest one is hawthorn. Hawthorn is, they get a berry from the hawthorn tree, and they also use the flowers and the leaf extract, and they're very rich in these compounds called flavonoids. Flavonoids are what give berries color, like blueberries, bright colors, and fruits and vegetables. And hawthorn specifically is anti-inflammatory, and it strengthens the actual muscle of the heart to be stronger. But it also gently dilates the coronary vessels, so it opens up the heart, the arteries to the heart, so the blood flow to your heart is better. So that's another really, really great food to do. Okay. Lastly, vitamin E has been maligned a lot in studies recently, and it's because they've been using the wrong form of vitamin E and using it in isolated forms. The superstar, which I'd like to do a whole show on, is compounds called tocotrienols. These are amazing forms of vitamin E that is kind of, I'm considering to be the next superstar when it comes out to supplements that are coming out. Tocotrienols have these very short little molecular tails on the bottom of them, and they interact with the cell a lot faster, quicker, and stronger than other forms. And they actually will go in and directly help lower cholesterol levels by modulating the liver's production of cholesterol. But simultaneously, they're very anti-inflammatory, and they're very, very great antioxidants for protecting the cardiovascular system. And the heart and arteries have layers of fat in them. Our brain has layers of fat in them. Vitamin E compounds are very, very protective for this fat. They're fat-soluble antioxidants. And there's a new study on brain using full-spectrum vitamin E in Alzheimer's and finding it very, very, very brain protective.
And how do you know that the vitamin E has that? What does it say?
You have to look on the label carefully, and you want to avoid vitamin E's that just say D-alpha tocopherol. The D-alpha alone is not enough. It has to have a mixture of gamma tocopherol, and if you can find them with tocotrienols, that's really, really where you want to be moving at. Their recent studies have found that tocotrienols actually go inside cancer cells and tell them to die. And there have been some amazing studies finding that tocotrienols enhance the killing ability of almost every known chemotherapy drug and have really big effects on stimulating cellular suicide in cancer cells. And so they're also very protective against radiation therapy. So I have people use them before they go in for radiation therapy. So they do all kinds of amazing things. They are really huge, and it's coming up as I'm predicting these are going to be one of the most potent new supplement type compounds found. They're found in things like palm oil and rice bran oil, or your natural food sources on them. But they offer really, really tremendous benefit.
If you have vitamin E within a multivitamin, is that enough?
It's usually just D-alpha, and so I don't think it is enough. I think people need to go back and look at ones that either are very high in what's gamma tocopherol. Gamma tocopherol, which is one of the forms of vitamin E, is actually much more anti-inflammatory, and it'll be better at reducing inflammation than just D-alpha. And so you still need the D-alpha, but you need this full spectrum of things. But singularly, a tocotrienol supplement, I think, will go far beyond vitamin E alone in what I'm seeing in the research.
Are there particular brands, Peter, that you read on?
I'm using Jarrow formulas. It's a great company that gets priced better because tocotrienols are more expensive than vitamin E. And they get there some palm oil, but there are numerous ones that also are rice bran oil based also that are very, very good. I just think that as interest grows and awareness grows, I think the price will be coming down as people come. But I think we're talking about stuff we're about 2 or 3 or 5 years ahead of what the curve will be. I'm just I think we're on the sunrise coming up, and we're seeing the early stages of something that I'm incredibly excited about as a supplement that I think is going to be a huge thing in the future. People start really realizing what these do. They're real wonderful things.
Awesome stuff. Yeah.
All right.
I got to have you back for the whole show on the vitamin E.
Okay. Yeah. We could really go into the whole thing on that. But those are some of the big things that I think are the primary, most important when it comes to looking at what you can do in cardiovascular health.
Did we tell you this? He didn't learn this stuff yesterday,